whereabouts were you supposed to be playing tonight?
Belfast.
Right.
Belfast. This would have been, let me think, 8:30. We'd have been on stage now. It's kind of an early show.
Yeah.
And then we would have been wreaking havoc around the town later.
Oh,
Yeah. But
so,
hey, we're doing a Zoom call with you, Simon. So
this is clearly the next best thing. Yeah. So we're here to talk about the authorized biography. Yeah. So it's been quite a therapy heavy year for me personally. So it all started in August, sort of the initial chat with Neil and Andy in London over a few drinks and some food, and here we are just over a year later. So, but well, thank you for joining us, everyone watching. So we're just gonna have a chat about the book, and then we've got lots of questions from fans and stuff.
No.
So how's the last 6 months been for you all on a personal level?
Anyone want to go first?
I'll jump in. Yeah, it's
Go on.
From my end, it's actually not been too bad. You know, when we're once I'd kind of got my head around the concept of, you know, the lockdown and all the rest of it, you know, we were quite lucky in that everybody was quite well. We were all at home and we just kind of got the heads down and got on with it. You know, I'm quite, how'd you put it? You know, when I'm at home, you know, you just do normal stuff anyway. So it wasn't really a massive break from that. You know, obviously we were just gearing up to go on tour. But like I said, when you just realized that there was nothing anybody could do, you know, and this was far bigger than just going out and playing some gigs, I got my head around that and just got on with it, you know. It was good.
Yeah, I was kind of, you know, like I said, you get really sort of geared up to going on tour and then suddenly having the plug pulled. But, you know, no one could do anything about it. I mean, to be honest, I've enjoyed having time with the family and stuff. But, yeah, and we were all ill, so we kind of got through all that. That was pretty... And at first, I had a bit of a... I was speaking to the lads about it. I had a real downer on things. I just couldn't get my head around anything. And bizarrely, the Michael and Andy sent me some tunes to kind of get my head around and lift my spirits, which was brilliant, you know, and you kind of need that sort of thing. So, yeah, I sort of went through a real dip. But, yeah, once I got my head around it, I was all right. It's just, yeah, it's quite strange for me to get really, really down. But, yeah, I did it first. I mean, it could have been the illness and everything. So, yeah, there's all types of stuff. Obviously, seeing your children ill kind of freaks me out. But other than that, it's weird now. I feel as though like we're working on new stuff and ideas are flowing. So, you know, you just get on with it, don't you, really?
Yeah. And you spent a lot of time in your garage, Andy, peeling out classic riffs for the Instagram feed.
Well, that's it. The one thing about the lockdown is I'm probably a 20 times better guitar player now than I was before the lockdown, because I'm actually going in and playing the thing all the time. But yeah, I'm really, really enjoying doing that, actually. But I had to sort of take a step back because I got into routine, which I'm never usually good with routines. And I got into this routine of going for a run in the morning and then going into the garage every day. And then I sort of hit a wall. So yeah, I mean, I don't know, but maybe I'm a bit odd, but I've got to the point now where whenever I was going out at the start of the lockdown and the roads were completely empty, it was like the day after tomorrow, or, you know, like 28 days later. Yeah. I really like that. Right. I really, really like that. And I've got like, I get sinusitis always in the left-hand side of my nose, and it's always blocked. And after about a month, it completely cleared up. And I don't know what it was, whether it's pollution or whatever, but obviously, you know, I really, really missed the band, and I missed my mates in the band, and you know, missed things like going to football. Mm-hmm. But as regards to kind of tranquility and that it adds the Zen-like tranquility that it's brought, I kind of have enjoyed that. It's such a shame. I mean, I think I'm quite lucky, actually. I mean, I look at people that, you know, that are in terrible situations, that how must they be getting by for these 6 months? Yeah. You know, I can laugh about it now and approach it with levity, but yeah, I think I've been quite lucky.
I think you've got to grab a hold of any positives you can, you know, for yourself. when watching Chelsea, do you have the crowd sounds on or off?
No, I can't with the crowd sounds on. I sit through every agonizing moment. I hear every drinks bottle being kicked off the sideline. You know what I mean? Yeah, especially but I like it. And well, I don't like it. I hate it. But I can't let myself watch it with canned crowd. I can't.
Yeah,
I have to watch it. I think as well it'd be the same with if there was a gig. I was wondering when we come back and play gigs, will the Electric Ballroom say, well, you have the option if the gig socially distanced, the Electric Ballroom holds 1,400 people or whatever.
Yeah.
We'll say, well, only you play the gig with 300, but we can pipe in extra crowd through the monitors at the front of the stage.
Let's have another one, lads.
You want to feel every agonizing moment. You want to hear everyone hitting the keypad on their phone as they text their mate to go, they haven't played church, shit.
Yeah.
Get on with it.
Yeah. Come on, therapy, let's have another one. Or they just have all the levels really skew with, so you just hear people ordering drinks at the bar too loudly at the back. Yeah. So you've done quite a few sort of lockdown videos. Can you explain to fans the process of recording remotely? Like who
do it in order of who does
it's bloody hard work.
Starts with Neil. It starts with Neil. So
yeah, so we sort of got the idea where we kind of we couldn't do it live. So we kind of record ourselves, we do the audio and we do the sort of video footage ourselves. And then, so I will record on an electronic drum kit, film it on my phone, and just record it on a tablet, the audio. Send the audio over to Michael. You take it from there, Michael.
And then I would just do the bass, just straight through, video it wherever I'm in the house at the time, and then I would mix that and then send it to Andy, and then Andy would.
I'm the most primitive of the rest of them all recorded properly, and I don't have GarageBand or Pro Tools or an Apogee that fits into my phone. And so I download Michael and Neil's track into my computer. I put my earbuds into the computer, and then I put my phone about 2 feet from the front of my Marshall stack in the garage. I press play on my headphones and I play along in the guitar, record the MP3 of my guitar track, send that to Michael, and then Michael has to tidy it up.
How many attempts did it take to?
Well,
how many attempts did it take to do it? Yeah,
that was straight off. We got it straight, didn't we? I think first.
I think you have to kind of. So each, I suppose, as you're looking at it, each of the takes are live takes, if you like. You can't start messing around with it too much. So, so it is each of the takes is one.
And it's done as live because obviously all our proper equipment is locked up in a lockup in London, which has been gathering dust since the 6th of August last year. And then we've been doing some rehearsing, I think maybe was it January, February? In Derby, so kind of all the demo recording gears there. So what we have at home is extremely basic. It was literally, I had to go and buy more guitar leads because I only had one guitar lead that worked in the house. So it was really a case of how's this, how's that. But bizarrely, I think we've actually sonically they sound better than some records we've done. Some of them. Records we spent a lot of money on as well, but we're obviously doing songs that we we know or we've relearned and stuff. We haven't really done it from scratch per se. So that's good. We've got a good template for it, so we're playing off something that we would have done before. But the good people seem to really enjoy them as well. It was a good way of us kind of sort of playing but not playing and just getting the ball rolling and just seeing what was possible with the technology and the very basic kind of things we were dealing with at home from the technology side of things.
It was really important I think it was really important to sort of give us something to focus on and just chip away at, because as a band like us, there's always something coming up, and when something out of your control just puts the brakes on, and that's it, you're just left. It's kind of like, well, I think we're so, it's just ingrained that we will be doing something next. what's next? What's happening next? And that, I think that's when we first started talking about it, that's what was in my head. It's just something to aim at. I found it really sort of helpful throughout the break, the lockdown, if you like.
Yeah. We like a project, something to work towards. Sometimes the projects come off the rails, and there's projects that have been ongoing for a long time, with reissue projects and things and pulling stuff together. But it's always kind of, there's always stuff taking along. And as Neil said, that was a good one, just to, keep everyone in contact and keep in contact with the fans and see how everyone was getting on, and just do. And we obviously focused on maybe, like we did Isolation and Going Nowhere, lyrically kind of tied in with what was going on. And then we did some songs for like anniversaries, like the Meat Abstract anniversary and stuff. So we kind of had there was a thought behind it. We just didn't bang out a load of stuff for the sake of doing it. So it was fun.
Because in the book, I remember Neil was talking about one of the Newcastle sessions. You expressed an interest in playing Animal Bones, because you hadn't really tackled it before, quite late on into your time in the band. Whose idea was it to do that early track for one of these lockdown videos?
That was Michael's.
I think that was just because that was that for the anniversary of Baby Teeth? I think it was.
It was tied into something. Yeah.
And I think it was one of the songs we never really played that much as a band. There it is, Simon. Just sandwiched between Phil and Cleve there.
Yeah. Yeah, but it sounded really good, especially with the kind of your electronic drum kit. It sort of suited the mood of the original recording.
Yeah. A few people sort of commented on that. I think just that the sort of vibe of the tune in itself, it kind of it just seemed to work. Like it was good.
Brilliant.
No subtlety, compressed the fuck.
Yeah, there was just shit flying off the kit as I'm playing it. Those kits aren't built for that kind of stuff. No.
Brilliant. So, has any ideas kind of come out of the last 6 months that you've worked on collectively in a similar way?
That's what we're talking about at the minute, because we had lots of ideas. As Michael said earlier, we were all rehearsing in February, and we had like the guts of 10 or 11 songs. Michael and Neil have been pinging over ideas, and I've been pinging them ideas. So we're going to have a really good body of work. And Michael was just suggesting last week that the stuff that we've been doing with the lockdown videos, we're actually going to start remotely demoing tracks.
Right.
So we're going to start, we'll say we'll have a rough arrangement of what the tracks are, and Neil will send the drums, bass, I'll add the guitar. And then that means if, when it comes to doing the album, we can actually listen to, say, the 20 or so tunes we have and go, well, we know what to cut that chorus out at the end, or that needs something in the middle, or we need to change the guitar part. At least we'll have all that done, because, we don't know when we're going to get the recording studio again, so we may as well get everything ready so that when we do go in, we know what we're doing. Yeah. So that'll all start from probably this week and next week. I mean, we've been sending each other ideas, and Neil's been playing along with ideas, and Michael sent me stuff, and I've added some guitar to it and stuff. But there's a lot of ideas there. We just haven't been able, the three of us, to get into a room to do anything. So we're going to have to do it this way.
Yeah, it's almost like everything has got to a point with those previous songs, and then we're going to bring all the other stuff up. But then the next step is you need to go into a room, and play on the real stuff, and then that'll lead to it. But I reckon if we get everyone up to where it needs to be, it'll be good. It'll be, as we say, we like a project, and this is a good focus now coming into the winter and stuff. So it'll be a lot of sound files pinging over the Irish Sea.
Yeah. Well, you spent a winter in the recording studio separately, so it's not above anyone's.
The saddest thing about, well, not the saddest, but the most sort of oddest thing about that was there was an attempt at Christmas decorations in the lonely apartment, and it was like this kind of like wilted Christmas tree with a few bits of tinsel on it, and you just sat there eating your beans and toaster ready meal, freezing.
The upside down house as well in Gateshead. It was upside down. It was like you walked in the front door, and it was all empty apart from a utility room and a cloakroom. And then you went up the stairs, and there was a kitchen and a living room in the middle floor. and then 2 bedrooms at the top, and it was right in the middle of. It's just opposite where you get out the metro at Gateshead there. But it was very, very lonely and cold.
Yeah, just the words "cold Gateshead flat" really summed up the glamour of recording an album. Excellent. So, what kind of music, because you've had all the time in the world really to kind of listen to and watch stuff. What music's kind of leapt out at you the last sort of half of the year that you've really kind of been inspired by?
I kind of get into a lot of, because I'd sort of got into electronic music and sort of slightly quieter music for a while, but in the last 4 or 5 months, and I've got really into noise rock again, but like also, and also anything electronic, which is really fierce. So I've got into things like Luminous Bodies, Rainbow Grave, Deaf Kids, Pet Brick, Casual Nun, lots and lots of stuff like that. Again, I think maybe it's just because it really sort of wakes me up during these times. It's like if I go into the garage where I'm doing more work, I normally put something on while I'm setting on the cables and guitar up, and that sort of does the trick. And I went to see Luminous Bodies and Casual Nun just about a week, I think, before the lockdown, and it was incredible. It was in the Lexington in London.
Oh.
And it was sold out, and there was like loads of bodies flying everywhere. One of the drummers from the Luminous Bodies ended up in the crowd and all. It was like a really great, that you imagine all the best nights out in London are like, and that's sort of, I was just getting back into going out to gigs again whenever this all happened. So I suppose stuff like that resonates with me a lot more. And there's some great, I was like, that band Salt, S-A-U-L-T, and Morning of Black Star, that do really good atmospheric electronic and soul music. But yeah, I think the more sort of gnarly, ugly kind of sounds are what's doing it for me at the minute.
Yeah. What about you, Michael?
Well, during the lockdown, I went very retro. I kind of went back and dug out all the old Priest albums again and all. I'm always kind of continuously on a Sabbath tip anyway, but went through all the Tony Martin years and stuff like that. And I quite like doing that. I remember doing it once with the Scorpions, where it's almost like you start with the first album and you have to, even those difficult, years, you have to get involved. So I did all that, and then Killing Joke, actually I've started doing that with them. So I just finished going through all their albums. And I suppose for new stuff, I can't really think of any new bands. The new Napalm Death album is absolutely brilliant. I think it's one of possibly their best album yet. And it's got a nice post-punk vibe to it, which works really well with the usual ferocity and velocity. So it's really dynamically it's brilliant, and it's really well recorded. So that's a big one on my listening.
You mentioned Tony Martin.
You mentioned him.
Where does Headless Cross? Where does Headless Cross mention? Where does the Headless Cross rank in their canon?
Well, above Forbidden, put it that way.
Right.
Yeah. Above Forbidden.
Giving it a lot of thought. And what about you, Neil? What's been what you've been playing?
I sort of went through a strange period. Like I was saying, I required tunes off the boys, and so the lads sent me some stuff. And one of the albums that really stuck out was the iFlies album.
Oh yes,
that's great as a kind of recent thing. And there's an electronic artist called Park High Jin, I think her name is, on Ninja Tunes, which I really like. That EP was recent stuff, but I kind of did a similar thing to Michael. I just went retro, and I was just listening to things like Kill 'Em All and Hell Awaits, and just like almost like, I think sometimes you get into these almost like a pop. There's a band called Disc actually, who are almost like a bit Weezer-ish and just very, very kind of pop, Weezer meets sort of Pavement type thing, very pop sort of arrangements. And when I was listening to Kill 'Em All and Hell Awaits, it was almost like just the difference in song arrangement was just almost like going around my head, as in, listen to me. I was kind of like, what's metal and what's pop? It fit, and and it just that was in one of my darkest days. But it reignited my love of heavy music. Sorry, went off on that. I just find it so interesting when you listen to those old records and kind of go, that's like such a bizarre, especially Hello, let's Kill 'Em All Right. You know what? If you listen to things like Jump in the Fire, it's like a disco bass line, and like opening riffs like Seek and Destroy. It's like they'll start, then they stop, and then they go into another riff, and then they'll go somewhere else, and then they'll go back to the second riff underneath the vocal. It's like, as an arrangement, it's actually quite mental. But you know, as a kid, you're just like, you just take it in. It's brilliant. Yeah, so perhaps I'm overanalyzing it a little bit, but they're still brilliant. I'll just assure everyone, yeah, they're still brilliant.
Currently residing in the Where Are They Now category.
Yeah.
So yesterday I sent out a tweet asking people to send in questions, and we'll take a few from the floor. So Sean says, how come you never recorded with Steve Albini? It would seem like a good fit sound-wise, you know, and also some of the bands you loved are from that school. Is that anything you've kind of contemplated in the past?
Yeah, I mean, there is the Steve Albini bit to our history. We always have liked this work, and we'd love to record it with him. And in fact, the plan, whenever we were with Quarter Stick Records in the States, Touch and Go, and John Loader from Southern, you know, the plan was after Pleasure Death, we were going to do an album, and they were going to ask Steve to do it. You know, that was who the natural person to produce the album was. And then we went to A&M. And before Short Sharp Shock, we'd written the material, the sort of the skeletal riffs and all the material. And we were in Nottingham, and I managed to get Steve Albini's number off Harvey Burrell, that was our sound engineer and producer. And after sound check, I said, well, I'm going to ring him, see if he'll produce Scream Age or Totally Random Man, you know, all the stuff that became the Short Sharp Shock EP. And Fife didn't want to do it. And Mike said, no, you do it, Andy. So I rang him up, and we just left Touch and Go, and I got through to him, and he was very polite. And he basically said, well, to be honest with you, I'm really good friends with Corey Rusk. You know, you were on Corey Rusk's label, but you've now left it, you know, so politically this wouldn't be right for me to do. And I really like your first records. But, and then my pathetic end of thing was, well, would you ever work with us in the future? He went, yeah, well, we can talk about that when the time comes, kind of thing. And then before Suicide Pact, we had a nightmare getting producers because no one was available. Graham had broken his arm. And I remember at the time, I didn't want to ring Albini again, so our manager, Jerry, rang him, and he got him, and he said, yeah, I'd be interested in working with a band, but Shellaac's about to go on tour, and I haven't really got time to do this. So I think we've always talked about this. I mean, I don't know if the lads still agree, but we always said it's the kind of thing, if he was up for doing it and we were in America on tour or spending time there, dropping into Electric All Audio would be great.
Yeah.
But I think, you know, I really, really think there's a brilliant fit between Therapy and Chris Sheldon. It just is fantastic.
Yeah.
But it's the kind of thing, yeah, I mean, if we were on tour in America and we had, like, say, a week off and we had some songs written, I would, but, you know, I would at some point like to work with them, because everyone just says, you know, they always kind of think, well, that should be what you're going for. But
yeah, that sounds right. As I said that question, I realized I wrote about it that particular moment, but I know Sean, yeah, I know it's Sean.
If anyone wants to read more about it, I'm sure you go into it in more details, Simon, in that book.
It's available digitally right now because someone sold all their copies. So
yay!
No, I'm talking about that. So I was quite amazed by the uptake, you know, from the amount you took from the publisher and sold very quickly. So if anyone wants an actual physical copy, there'll be more available soon.
Yeah, reprints coming, the pre-orders up on our website.
Yeah, that's excellent. So Arvo Party asks, if you were contractually obliged to record a concept album, what would it be about? That's also Herb, who works for the band.
Concept album. Well, here's one, because I know where the neck of the woods he comes from. I think we should do one about the Causeway Safari Park, which was an ill-fated safari park up on the Causeway Coast in the north of Antrim, through the 80s, probably maybe into the 90s, and it all ended up, it was kind of Tiger King before the Tiger King, but with, you know, East Antrim accents and stuff. So something like that might be quite good, because it's a double dealing deceit, probably all sorts of dodgy goings on. That would make a good one. So I'd say Causeway Safari Park concept album.
Be brilliant.
Tiger King. Brilliant.
Would it be a double disc release, or could you kind of fit it onto one half of a C90?
Oh, it has to be a double disc if it's a concept album. So.
Yeah.
Yeah, it has to be with Roger Dean artwork.
Keeping on that theme, Rob asks, will Penis Temple and Duck Symphony ever be shared, perhaps as a Penis Symphony EP?
That's a good name for it, Penis Symphony. Oh, I don't know. That might be a dip too far into the psyches of men on the edge. I don't know. Definitely a curio, but maybe the myths may be more powerful than the actual reality. So maybe,
yeah. Well, because a lot of people talked about the Speedo Menace, whether that would ever surface on Blu-ray.
Well, Graham has that. Graham has the film because he videoed it on his camera.
Yeah.
I mean, for the last few years, various record companies we've been with have always talked about re-releasing Suicide Pact You First, and we always had it in our head that it would be like, you could release that on, say, something like white vinyl with a gatefold sleeve, because there was really good artwork with that album. And then you could obviously throw in like Speedo Menace. But Graham Hopkins has it. He filmed a lot of it, and we did do a sort of edit and stuff. So it is out there. So, and
right.
I think you talked to him, Michael, did you?
Yeah, he mentioned it, and he said it's in his loft somewhere. He's got to dig it out, but I'm sure he will if the public demand is sufficient. So Tommy Hand asks, would you consider making a therapy beer or whiskey?
No, we couldn't. I don't think we could personally make it because like thousands would die, especially if we made it the bath. But I think if some brewery came along and wanted to stick our name and a Gamel on the bottle, we could get involved and taste it. Yeah, but I wouldn't necessarily. My bathtub hooch wouldn't be fit for public consumption.
Do you remember Bogarden, Andy? Remember we tried? we were working on a hybrid beverage at a Belgian festival, and it was Strongbow and Hogarden. Bogarden.
Nice.
It was Bogarden. It should have been called.
It didn't gel the way we thought it would.
Yeah.
It just wasn't happening, so we might, but no, I think a lot of bands have done them, and I think it might be quite a fun thing to do. We've had people have done ones at festivals. They've brewed there's one called Die Laughing at a Dutch festival, which
that's nice.
Which is nice.
Well, in the book, I think, or at least we talked about it. You saw some pitching for Clutch.
That was in Ballyclare. Poaching was a big thing. Ballyclare is a kind of market town in East Antrim's in County Antrim. And my dad used to know people that made poaching, and it was the kind of thing where, in the 70s, let's make this party go with a bit of a bang. Someone would get a clear lemonade bottle and it'd be full of poaching.
Yeah.
And we were talking about it with Clutch, and they were saying they said something along the line of, we're talking about how hillbillies originated from the north of Ireland, and I think someone said, was that not where sort of moonshine comes from, northern part of Ireland? And I said, well, I don't know. My dad used to know people, so literally I phoned my dad and said, look, we're playing the Empire in Belfast with a band from Maryland called Clutch, and they've been asking about poaching. And my dad went, oh yeah, I think the fella that I used to know still makes it. So he drove up to some farmyard just outside Ballyclare, and the guy still makes it. So I managed to get down to Ballyclare before sound check, and my dad handed me this like it was a 7-Up bottle or something like that, but it's filled with poaching. And I gave it to Clutch at sound check at the Empire, and I think the late Jack Flanagan, their manager and tour manager, tried some of it, and I think Neil might have done. Neil Fannon. I think the rest of them were too scared. It's the fact that it was in a lemonade bottle was just, this could be anything. But
we blinded Clutch, nice and tight.
Well, when I lived in Honest Grove, I was tricked into having a swig of it from a water bottle, and I think I lost my sight for about 10 minutes.
Oh my god!
So
wow.
it's strong. It's not a relaxing drink by any stretch of the imagination.
No, it's a Chateau Wreck the house, very much so.
So a couple of people, Richard and Irish Chris 81, they've both been asking about updates about any reissues of Baby Teeth and Pleasure Death. is that a chance it may happen in the future?
Well, we do touch on in the book the reason why they didn't end up in the Gemmell box. You know, there are remastered versions of them done, which do sound great.
Yeah.
And there probably would be some, you know, legal stuff to sort out. But yeah, it's something it's one of those projects that's kind of picks up steam every now and then. But yeah, hopefully, I think they definitely should come out with that, you know, kind of sonic scrub up which they've been given, and they sound really good from the work that's been done on them. So something like that would be really good, but nothing definite as such.
Yeah. So Sullivan asks, how did Neil and Tim from Clutch come to appear on Shameless?
Well, we were we'd obviously done that tour with Clutch and got to know them really, really well. And what we did was whenever we did Shameless, we worked really, really hard. I mean, Jack and Dino, he's a great producer, but he's very much, you go in there at 11 o'clock and you're there to 10 or 11 at night, and you only have 2 breaks. The rest of the time, it's very, very intense. And because Jack doesn't drink or do drugs or anything like that, his 2 things were food and gigs. So like he used to like, whenever you had a meal at night, you know, the record company was paying for it, so you would go out and eat somewhere nice. And the second thing was, if there was a band in town that he knew that we liked. So we saw tons of gigs when we were at Seattle. We saw the Melvins, we saw Murder City Devils, we saw Type Brothers from way back when. Clutch were in town, and they were playing with Corrosion of Conformity. And Jack went, "Oh, that'll be a really, really good gig." So we managed to get in touch with Jack Flanagan and said, "Look, we're up at the studio in Seattle. what time are the lads sound checking at? We've got this song," because the song on the album, the phrase "Gentlemen, start your axes," that came from a story Neil Fallon had told us about some, you know, Battle of the Bands competition they used to have in the Midwest that he used to go to, where a compere would come and go, "Gentlemen, start your axes," and these kind of Whitley Van Halen type bands would play. So we got in touch with him, and Jack said, "Well, what do you want them to do?" We said, "Well, we want Neil to make a lot of, to say 'Gentlemen, start your axes,' and like Tim to just make lots of really revy sounds on the guitar." And they said, "Absolutely no problem." And they sound checked, I think, about 4 o'clock. They jumped in a cab from, I think it was a showbox they were playing with Corrosion of Conformity. And they ended up at the sound check, and then they come in, "Hi guys, how's it going?" We did all that, and then we ordered pizza, and they sat and they had pizza with us. And then they went back to the gig, and they were on stage about an hour and a half later. And then we went down soon after that and saw them on stage and had a really good night. Went out with them afterwards, got very, very drunk. And yeah, it was a great night. But it was literally just something that we phoned up, and they said, "Yeah, we'll do it." There was no, "What key's the song in, man? You know, what kind of vibe are you going for?" It was all like, "What do you want? Want some noise, and we want a compare." And they went, "Yeah, we can do that."
Brilliant. Excellent. So Jay asks, what sort of set list can we expect when the tour finally goes ahead? Will it be a greatest hits type affair, or something catered for the more die-hard fans?
I've actually kind of forgotten what we decided for this cancelled earlier in the year.
I thought it was just me.
Yeah, that seems a long time ago. I'm going to have to retrace.
What are we doing again? What?
No, I think the nature of it being the 30th anniversary, the vibe was meant to be like a celebration, and obviously with the the re-recorded greatest hits, that would kind of be the core of the set type thing. But there was a few wild cards. We talked about stuff we hadn't played, and I think probably dipping into a few things during the lockdown there would probably be a couple of other different things. But whenever that's going to happen, we'll probably pick up the ball again and then look at that. But yeah, it would be a party set. Yeah, there's not going to be any 30-minute instrumentals or anything like that. Or there might be, I don't know.
Yeah.
What space is this?
Brilliant. I mean, what song are you missing playing most, right now?
I think for me personally, we'd learned a couple of, as Michael said, wild cards. That we'd decided we'd play some off Semi-Detached, which I hadn't played in years.
Right.
So I went back and had to relearn the parts. But I really enjoyed playing a couple of the songs, and a few of the ones off Suicide Pact, we went back and learned. And I think that, as Michael said, the idea was just to have a few of these up our sleeves so we could play, the party set and chuck some of this stuff in. And there was a lot of love given over the last 6, 7, 8 months for Semi-Detached, ever since it appeared on Spotify. A lot of people were saying how much they actually liked it. So it made us go back and revisit it. And then, as you mentioned earlier, with Animal Bones and Baby Teeth, we were listening to stuff like Skyward again and all that kind of stuff. But yeah, so I was kind of that I was missing playing the most. I always like, whenever we go on tour, if we're touring a new album, I enjoy playing that the most. Or like this Greatest Hits. I went back whenever we did that thing in Abbey Road, the Greatest Hits album, we did Opal Mantra. And I realized I'd never actually listened to the record of Opal Mantra for years and years and years. So I thought, well, we're going to record it in Abbey Road live. And I realized that, I've been playing the chorus a completely different way than on the record for like years. Right. I mean, it's the same notes, but I've been playing different chord shapes. The chord shapes on the record are a lot more open. And I really, really enjoyed doing that again. Because sometimes, that's a bizarre thing with a band, but playing these songs for so long, sometimes when you go back and listen to things, you go, I've actually been playing this slightly wrong for 20 years, or I've forgotten that bit, or I've sang that lyric quite wrong.
Is it hard to unlearn that then if you have to go back and do something, say, properly?
Well, for me, it's just repetition. If I've got a chord change or a lyric wrong, I literally have to sit down and go. It's like someone writing lines on a blackboard at school 100 times. I have to just play it again. And it's the same whenever we're on tour. If Michael says, "Oh, we should do something tonight that we haven't played," now I've literally at sound check got to shout at myself when it comes up to the bit that I always forget. Yeah, because it does. But then once it's in. That's all right then.
I think it was on Kerrang.com. It was mentioned that it was a big anniversary of the Judgment Night soundtrack. So Johnny Wes Plaid asks, what was it like recording with Fatal for that? That's
that was actually a lot of fun.
Brilliant, yeah.
Because we did it on a day off on an American tour, and it was really interesting seeing how the producer approached recording it. We had a few bits and pieces that we've been playing around with because we knew we were going to do it, and basically there was a drum loop, and that was just that's what they started with, and everyone was kind of built around it and do that. And Fatal, he'd various kind of lyrical concepts, some were a bit more.
I remember some of them you mentioned during the interviews for the book.
Yeah, so we had to maybe
quite graphic.
Steer it to a lyrical place that we were comfortable with as well. But that was all the fun of it, sounding it. We just met each other in the studio type thing, and it was good. We recorded in New York with T-Ray, the producer. And it was a really good experience. And we just played live rounds of track, and then they would say, right, drop that bit out, cut that bit, and then Fatal come in and did his thing. So it was good. It was really, really good. And it was just coming from a completely different kind of mindset. And they were kind of, I remember Andy was playing some of the riffs, and Fatal was kind of goading him to, he wanted him more evil nearly. So it was kind of getting more and more Sabbathy, some of the riffs, and Andy was bending the notes and stuff. So it was good in that respect. It was kind of a good, it was a pretty true collaboration because we were all in the room together the whole time.
Is there any footage of Diamond Dave entertaining his entourage in the green room?
Sadly not.
Unless one of our crew has it, but that was one of the funniest things I've ever seen in my life. We were obviously nervous because we'd never worked with we'd had Gunshot and people like that on tour with us, but we'd never worked with a hip hop crew. And he turned up and he was lovely, but beforehand we were all a bit, okay, so how do we approach this? And it was like, everyone was going, well, maybe we'll bust out, what we want to do with each other. And I think within 2 minutes of him arriving, Diamond Dave had called him Fat Al. And I was like, who is this guy? I like this guy. And it was like, they got on like an absolute house on fire. And then Fatal's Joseph, his name was, his wife turned up, and a lot of his mates, they all hung about the studio, but they all thought Diamond Dave was the funniest man on the planet. And to be honest, that was great because it just made the atmosphere then. And the engineer that was working on it with T-Ray as well, he was quite old school because it was Gary Katzman from Steely Dan's studio. And it was it was several floors up, and it was quite a posh high-end studio. And like whenever about us, a bunch of like noise nicks from Ireland, and then Fatal arrived, I think the engineer in the place, who was quite old school, he was a bit, I'll just tolerate this until it's time for me to clock off. But even he got in the funnies with Diamond Dave, so it kind of made the situation a lot more workable. And as Michael said, what we were writing completely from scratch. We didn't have any ideas. We started with a look and a riff and Fatal and Michael's bass line and the key ride chopping and changing bits. And that's quite daunting, especially it was a day off on tour. And we knew that we'd only this one day to nail it. And we heard all the other big names doing it. So fair play to Diamond. He made the environment really, really fun.
Brilliant. I'll end on a question from me. Is there anything in the book that surprised you when you read each other's kind of quotes and recollections throughout the years?
How lucid a lot of Michael's memories were. There's always like, because it is, there's a certain amount of, this is my truth, whenever I recollect things, or this is how I remember things going. But Michael's always, I think there's a great kind of, there's some poignancy to some of it as well. You forget that, with us having lived it for 30 years, you sort of forget there was a lot of times that, we went through together, and I suppose we were just so caught up in it that we didn't realize how fucked up things had got at points.
What about you, Neil?
Yeah, I mean, for me, obviously, kind of, I've heard stories of things back in the day, but then to kind of read it, in such detail has been really interesting for me. You kind of hear stories along the way, obviously, but so yeah, it's been great. So thanks, Simon. Thanks for that. for getting it out of the boys.
It's all right.
Yeah. I have a question for you.
Right.
This is your first band biography, yeah? So I'm just wondering, have you got a taste for it? And if so, do you have a wish list of who else you'd like to?
Oh, I would like to write more books now. Because as you know, I was writing the under a period of renovation in the house, so you'd often hear drills and hammers going off in the background. So the next book I do will be in much more calm, serene environment. But as far as, I don't know, I'm a fan of Rock from the Crypt and Biffy and Metallica, not just things surrounding those bands maybe, but who knows? I've, could do a thing about Curb Dog.
Yeah.
just write about bands I've kind of grown up listening to and got to know. I think knowing people is a big head start. I don't think I could go in cold on a biography, so I'll just have to make friends with more bands and stick to them like limpets for 20 years. Then I get the scoop.
When we started doing the interviews at first, we did it was all done pretty much via Skype or Zoom, so it was I felt very at ease. So there was no, sometimes if you don't really know someone, you're maybe not gonna be as detailed or be as explicit in maybe what you were feeling then. You sometimes you play it a little bit safe, but it was good because I think all of us, we felt comfortable with you, so you got the stuff that might not have been already known. Plus, obviously, you knew the band and your research was brilliant as well. So it's kind of had that, for me, just reading it back, that really good balance of personalities, the kind of the emotional side of it, plus then the kind of the detail, that people want as well. So I think that's why it's been why people have reacted so well to it. It's been brilliant. Everyone seems to have really loved it, which is fair credit to you. That's brilliant.
It was fun to do. It was good to write. If you could go, are there any stories you wish you'd remembered along the way?
Well, Phil Collins.
Yes.
I was just saying to Simon, he sent me a picture and I saw that Phil was in it, and I totally had forgotten to say that Phil Collins' son was recording in Real World.
Yes.
He was kind of a young kid then. He was kind of doing demos and stuff, and he was keen to hang out with us and party with us and stuff like that. So it was, you know, it was bizarre because Al Clay, the producer, he's a huge Phil Collins fan, and he was very, every day he'd ask, is your dad coming up? You know, any, you know, is he checking in the demos? You know, and like that type of thing. So, but yeah, there's loads of crazy stories like that obviously they can't all go in the book, Simon. I suppose they get a bit maybe too anecdotal, but yeah, there's loads of ones have come back since.
Keep them for the third pressing.
Volume 2.
Yeah.
Did Geezer Butler's son once, whenever we were doing the rehearsals for High Anxiety at Real World, wasn't Geezer Butler's son?
Yeah.
Is it Biff?
Biff Butler, yeah.
Is it like Apartment 18 or something?
That's right. Apartment. Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
They were in the studio and we were in the rehearsal room for a fortnight, and they used to have both bands eating dinner, and it was like I remember he was actually a nice lad, but Michael clocked it straight away. I had no idea, but yeah.
Following around every time he was on the phone. Is that your dad?
Bizarrely.
Love you.
I had met his dad in Finland in 1995, possibly. No, 94, sorry. Tony the Cat Martin era. And when I got Geezer's autograph, he asked me for my autograph because his son was a huge Therapy fan.
That's right, I remember that.
Right.
What was that called? The Something Rock Festival?
Provincy Rock or one of those?
Provincy Rock, I think, yeah.
Yeah, Justin Sabbath. But it was so surreal because I was there with my Sabbath albums getting them signed. He goes, "Oh, could I get one of yours, Michael? Because my lad's a big fan." I just got Geezer Butler. But he wasn't asking it. It wasn't for Geezer Butler, but anyway. You know?
Close enough. Close enough. He asked, Michael. He asked for it. He asked for it.
Yeah. Don't make it out to my son. Just put Michael.
My son's also called Geezer.
Yeah. Excellent. One bit in the book, Neil. Every time I think about your description of dislocating your shoulder playing football, I'm trying to get my head around how that happened.
Okay. What do you mean?
You say you grabbed onto a plastic netting and
yeah. So he took it to me.
Can you recreate it for us? Because if you hurt yourself, you've got time to recuperate again.
Right. So so the pitch had got netted at the side, and I grabbed it, and I carried on running. So my hand twisted, and I heard it kind of crack, and then I kind of subbed myself off, and I just went green and felt sick. I wasn't actually in that much pain, and then
just walk it off.
Yeah, I actually thought I'll go and have a bath. Yeah, I'll be all right. I'll be all right. And my wife, who was my girlfriend at the time, was kind of like, "You really are. You've gone green. You better go to the hospital." So we went, and this was on the Sunday, and we were doing the video for If It Kills Me on the Tuesday.
Yeah.
And I was like, "Oh my God." Anyway, I got to the hospital, and the guy said, "Oh, yeah, we'll X-ray it." And yeah, so the ball had split in two. But he's going, "What do you do?" And I was going, "Oh, I'm a drummer." He's going, "Right." He said, "Well, normally your ligaments snap." He said, "And if that had happened, it'd have been game over for you. But for some reason, your ligaments are really strong." Strong like bull.
Freakishly strong ligaments.
My ligaments. And yeah, so that was that. And then on the Tuesday, we went and did.
Because I went back and watched that video far more closely than any man should, and you did seem to be in bits.
Oh, mate, yeah. I was just popping pills. I was like, "Oh my God!" I just couldn't move my arms. Oh, yeah.
So, how are you going to spend the final months of this year? Are there any sort of band plans just surfacing? You know, just in case there's a miracle cure and vaccine. Would you release your own vaccine if it came to it?
Oh,
go to Ballyclare, get the guy with the bucket. Putching might cure.
I think if you did in a Trump sensation, I think if you intravenously injected Putching, it probably would kill.
Definitely. Nothing would be alive.
Yeah, multi-purpose.
Yeah.
But do you have I mean, are there any plans just to sort of finalize album ideas
we're
this year?
We're going to try and, like Andy was saying earlier, get some ideas together remotely. The ideas are sort of pinging around, but I think we're going to try and sort of almost demo them remotely. It's like with everyone else, so there's no real point in booking anything, or studio wise or gig wise. I mean, we're trying to kind of get everything rolling, but realistically, in my opinion, until the public, on a gig level, until the public are happy to come and enjoy a night out in a packed room, there's no point. I mean, it's like, okay, we can get there safely, socially distanced, etc., etc. But until people are going to feel comfortable, there's no point. That's my personal thing, but it's a tough one. We've just got to wait. But as we are waiting, I think the three of us have just got to keep chipping away at stuff, which is what
we have got a lot of material, which is good. That's one. And as long, the more we work, everyone's got ideas, and this is. I mean, I think if we look at it, as you mentioned earlier on, about STEM positive, Simon, I think if we just get this material finished, so that, as Michael mentioned, when we get into a room to rehearse again, we can all go, right, that track there. And it'll be great to eventually and keep it. I mean, there are things I would like, would like to keep in touch. Things like this are fantastic. Things like this do help, but I think there's only so far, as well as needs, is that we can take that. At some point, we're just going to have to get our heads down and get on with it until we're allowed back out to play live again. I mean, I was thinking today, actually, was when I was tidying up my garage earlier on, I was taking a leaf out of Michael's book and archiving a lot of my old material, because whenever you were asking me for stuff for the book, it was here, there, and everywhere.
Yeah.
Took some chance to, and just looking at all the pictures. I mean, if it's far back, like stuff that we did when Neil joined the band and stuff from 2 years ago, right back to rehearsals in 1989. And on the 6th of October, it'll be exactly 1 year since we actually played a gig. We played that gig that you came to.
That was the last gig I went to.
Yeah, so. In London, in the Kentish Town Forum.
Yeah.
And that is the longest. I think, ever since probably when Baby Teeth was out, I don't think we've ever had 1 year where we haven't gigged. Not at all. There's always been at least 20. Even when we haven't had an album out, we always have summer festivals and at least 20 gigs. That's in the very, very, very lean years. But I've never ever known a year when we didn't gig. It's insane.
And I was in a bizarre way. I was thinking about it. Someone was saying to me about gigging, and to not actually do a live performance for a whole year. I mean, I don't think I've ever, since blooming learning how to play drums, not done anything. I mean, even as a kid at school, you do an assembly or you do something. To not play at all live, it's like crazy. Yeah, it's really odd. It's going to be weird. I think it's going to be weird getting back to it. I'm going to be quite nervous, actually. I start spewing up at the side of the stage. I don't want to go on. No.
Yeah. Well, hopefully we'll see you sooner rather than later. But thank you for joining me virtually, and Phil in the background.
Yeah.
This is the book launch. 2 copies. Contact Michael McKeegan if you.
I've been hiding them in moving charts.
Yeah.
It's bad news.
Yeah. What was that? Like to order 347 copies of the book, please.
Yeah. You've been disqualified because some idiot bought 350 copies of the book.
Yeah.
So,
do you remember? Sorry, go ahead.
No,
I was going to say, do you remember this? Sorry, this is another. Do you remember in Carline Music years ago, Michael, when that guy, his nickname was Spike, worked there?
Oh, yes.
And he got sacked because Gallup were on the phone wanting to know why Alien Sex Fiend had gone into the top 5 based on sales from Carline Music.
You've just been swiping
it.
Brilliant. So, if Spike's out there, feel free to go to Waterstones with a barcode. I'm not proud. So, but thanks for joining us, and maybe we can do something, again soon. Further recollections and maybe a Christmas special.
Yeah,
Maybe
yeah,
we'll read a chapter next week.
Halloween special. I mean, come on, in the world of metal and alternative rock, we have to have a Halloween special.
Sounds
We can all
good.
dress
All right,
up
then.
for it.
We'll do that then.
Yeah,
Excellent.
fancy dress, yeah.
Yeah. Well, thanks. Well, thank you for doing this. It's been a pleasure, and it's weird to have a book about a band I care deeply about in my hand, and I'm going to put it there and say good night.
Well, thank you very much.
Thanks, Simon. Thank you.
Thanks,
Take care,
mate.
fella.
Thank you.
Speak soon.